Well, I'm one of those people who wanted to be an actor from the age of 5. I was in my primary school and we were doing Midsummer Night's Dream for an entry into a festival. And I think that's where my competitive nature started. And I went in for a lot of festivals in my childhood and I always had to win. I was really quite a bad competitor actually. And it wasn't the taking part, it was the winning for me. So I did a lot of drama at school. And then when I went to secondary school, not so much. And then I joined an amateur group and I played some really very nice parts in that. By which time I had decided that I would go to drama school. And after the various auditions and rejections and so forth, I got into the Rose Bruford College in Sidcup. And I had 3 absolutely magnificent years because I was doing what I wanted to do 24 hours a day. And it was actually very hard work, but really, really worth it. I went straight into a job. My very first repertory job was Harrogate in Yorkshire. And I was playing small parts and ASMing, doing the get-ins, fit-ups, all that, just loving it. And then I managed to keep going for quite some time. The following year I got married, and then few years after that we had children. By which time I think motherhood had just made me think I really can't do acting and motherhood as well. And I have always regretted that decision because now I look around and people are managing brilliantly. But I just felt that I couldn't do it. So I stopped acting, and then I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what to call myself. And then totally by chance, I was offered a teaching job. And I taught drama part-time in a local school, and I've never been so frightened of anything. It was far more frightening than acting. But eventually found I really, really enjoyed it. Then I went full-time, then I took my degree and so on, and then I sort of climbed the ladder in education and ended up running courses, designing, assessment, that kind of thing. So I became very, very knowledgeable over a number of years. And around about maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I realised my children were sort of growing up. They didn't particularly need me all that much. And it was time I did what I wanted to do. So I made a huge decision to give up my very well-paid full-time teaching job and go back into the theatre. And everyone said, gosh, that's brave. And of course they were right. It was also very foolish because the money ran out quite soon. By this time I was a single parent, trying to sort of cope with finances as well. But I was lucky. I got a television episode of Wycliffe, my first job, and then I started producing, and with the money I'd earned on television I produced a double bill of a one-woman show which was put on at the Canal Cafe Theatre up in Regent's Park, and that really worked very well. A lot of people came to see that, and it's been a struggle. And I've realised that if you don't produce your own work and if you don't make work happen for you, there's no point in sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring, because it doesn't. And last year my agent cut down her client list by something like 80%. It was a huge swipe. And I was one of the unfortunate few. So I now don't have an agent, but I'm actually finding I can still get auditions and just keep going. And I think that is what women have worked out in the theatre and in television. If you want to do it, you have to keep going and you have to keep pushing. So that's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And that's where 34All came in. I started writing about 4 years ago now, mainly because I was realising that women weren't getting cast and I wasn't getting cast. I'd reached 50 and suddenly everything seemed to stop. So I started writing a play that had me as the main part. It never got produced, but I did give it a public reading, and then I moved on to another one and I started producing that. And Three4All came out of the very successful production of Ellen, which was put on at the Henley Fringe in 2009, and we got a brilliant review and very good houses, and I thought, actually, I can do this. So the company was set up, and I was hoping to bring Ellen into London. I'm still hoping to do that, because I think it still has legs. And then I started looking at really writing things for women in mind, and the cast I have at the moment is a cast of 10 plus the musician, and all of us are women. And that's a century of great women. One of the many jobs I've done is teach, and when I stopped teaching full time, I started tutoring people for auditions for drama school, and most of them were school leavers or university leavers or so forth. But now and again I used to find that women used to phone me up and say, "Oh, I've seen your advert and I really want to do drama. I've always loved drama, but I didn't think I ought." And that word ought came up time and time again. And I have a theory that I think women think, well, I shouldn't really enjoy myself in my work. I should do something that earns really good money and look after the family and so on. And acting is too enjoyable. So I think a lot of women have gone into amateur theatre and really enjoyed it, but still think, what would have happened if I'd gone into theatre proper? And what would have happened if I had become successful? My life would be completely different. So I'm always very hopeful that older women will come in to the company, get some experience, work experience at the age of 40 isn't such a bad idea, and see theatre running in all its aspects. Because the problem with theatre is, of course, you need so many various skills. You need design skills, you need administrative skills, you need financial skills. I have none of those things. I have directing skills and I have acting skills, and I might have a little bit of a writing skill, but that's all. So other people joining Three4All is really like a mentoring system, whatever age they are. And also for younger people who feel that they can't afford to go to drama school, or there's too much competition, who just want to work in theatre because they love it. So I feel quite strongly that we have to engage all age groups and stop thinking that at the age of 40 or 50 women are retired. I'm never going to retire. People say to me, "Oh, you're retired now," and I say, no, I'm just going to keep on going. The idea of stopping what I do now, having taken so long to get to this point, I just couldn't bear it, so I'm going to go on until people tell me to stop. Now, producing is really hard. It isn't something I enjoy. It is something that I have to do in order to get my work out there. You have to be very organised. I write a list every day, and anything I don't achieve goes on to the next day's list. I think you have to keep your contacts very, very up to date, and have a good mailing list where you can tell people what you're doing. You have to keep your website up to date. You have to have things on there that people are going to be interested in, and try and link up with other people who have their own production company. The more links you have, the more your website will get seen. And I think the other thing you have to have is belief in yourself. Share what you do with other people, get them to work for you, make it a good creative process, and ensure that they have the opportunity to get seen by casting directors and agents and so forth, so that your work also becomes a showcase for them. And that way you build up a really good, reliable list of excellent actors, writers, designers and so on, and keep coming back to them and say, I've got another project, do you want to do it? And 9 times out of 10 they will probably say yes. Financial things are difficult. You have to know how to apply for grants and sponsorship and try and get investment, but take advice. You're not supposed to know everything. Go to someone who's done it before, ask them to tell you how to do it, phone up the Arts Council, ask for advice. That's what they're there for. And the other thing I'd say is, I've been to quite a few writing workshops, and 1 or 2 have given advice about getting your play produced. But I think there has to come a time when you stop going to the workshops and you actually have to get down, take the lid off your pen and do it. And you have to keep on doing it until it's finished, and that's the hard bit. You see, I think I'm a very new writer, although in fact I suppose I started about 4 years ago. And because I came from acting, I think I know that if you want something to be put on, you do it yourself. It's very unlikely that a producer's going to say, gosh, this is brilliant, we must put it on, because there are so many people out there doing this. I think one of the things I found is that you have to be such a disciplinarian as a writer, and one of the things I do is give myself deadlines, and a good way of doing that is entering competitions, whether they're short stories or whether they're short plays or long plays or whatever they are. If you enter a competition, you have to get it finished, and it really makes you focus your mind. So that's one thing I would do. I think if you're writing plays, then I would say get it read in public, invite friends, family, and invite them to invite people too, because your friends and family will tell you that it's very good. You need to have people who don't know you and can be objective. And that's what I did with my first play. I opened it up, and I was given a theatre space by a very kind director up in Camden, and we did a rehearsed reading, and I did questionnaires and got feedback, and that was very helpful. I think you have to get your work out there. You have to get it seen. You have to get a CV of what you've done, and I suppose the great thing is just don't give up.